problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore. We used to, but we destroyed that technology. I'd go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore.
Hello there. Another excellent one by Steve Thorne there. Cheers for that, Steve. Steve, shut up you. Right, let me just make sure I've got what I need here. In fact, I've still got something else I need to line up, just bear with me a wee second. I'll be right there. Where is it? Hold on a minute. Right. that. Right, that's me. I'm sorted. So, how are we, peoples? Obviously, the title. The title kind of says it all. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm going to talk about this evening. So, I've got a couple of wee examples that me and Dan filmed this afternoon. I'm going to share with you and just have the discussion. Obviously, you know, everything's open to question, and you know, you've got to be encouraged to continually question and ask these questions. Now, I've spoke before, you know, I don't know if anybody's heard of Einstein's equivalence principle. If you've not heard of that, check it out. There's a couple of wee short videos that gives you the gist of it. It's pretty much showing that, you know, a uniform type motion of the Earth, or being in a static Earth with a uniform gravitational field, you know, any one of those scenarios you would never be able to tell the difference. But, you know, for me, again, coming to practicality, there only is one of those that I can demonstrate and that I can offer you up and that you can check for yourself, you know, without using, you know, already, you know, preloaded assumptions of the Earth being a spherical object with this gravity stuffs, and trying to offer up postulations and mathematical concepts from there. For me, I start from practicality and I'll go where the practical reference takes me, regardless of what anybody's got to say about it. And again, people can call me names, as they always do. People try and turn it about my persons and it's a competition. I see somebody was there earlier, they'll get wrecked. They'll get wrecked in what? You know, this is not about, you know, electing some fucking champion of people's. Objective reality doesn't give a fuck about your idiotic, egotistical competitions, right? And I don't give a fuck about any of it. What I give a fuck about is what reality has to offer me. And what I give a fuck about is other human beings making claims about that reality that I am a part of without having any practical reference to offer me. My bar is a practical reference. I'm a practical man, and I encourage you to be the same. That way you can eradicate conceptual gibberish, fantasies, mental gymnastics. You can get right to the fucking nuts and bolts of reality. Where's the practical references? So, you know, for me again, and I encourage you to do the same, start with the questions and start from a practical process of moving forward and trying to garner an understanding. So as I say, you know, you have a look at Einstein's equivalence principle, and again, the uniform gravitational gibberish just doesn't work for me, you know, because we're not talking about uniformity, we're not talking about uniform straight line motion, we're talking about wobbling, gyrating, spinning fucking testicles, doing all sorts of fantastical loops and upside downs and big dippers, right? It's utter crap. So again, for me, I'm asking these questions. What we have to first understand is that we're talking about the way in which objects fall. As I've highlighted so many times before, it's a separate entity. But, you know, obviously, you know, the cult of Globe tries to incorporate everything because it's trying to sway people and you know, and put an impression on people that it has an understanding, it has a grasp, and it has science backing it, when in the reality is so far from it. They have nothing practical, they have absolutely diddly squat. Okay, it's a concept and you see it on the telly, that's it. So, you know, again, the equivalence principle, one of them is demonstrable, and that's what I'm going to show you, and that's what I'm going to ask the questions about. Okay, so I'm asking the questions here, and again, it's a separate topic of discussion from establishing the shape of the Earth, getting back to the point I was trying to make a minute ago. We all know that it's always thrown in there. Gravity is the god of the gaps type answer for a globe heliocentric cult member. Well, they think they can just invoke a mantra, a buzzword, and think that passes as something relevant. Okay? So obviously, you know, nobody is in any doubts that objects do what we would call fall, where you can hold an object, let it go, and it appears to you to move towards the ground. Okay, and that direction is always down. No matter where you are, an object will fall straight down. So nobody's in any doubts about that. So we ask the questions, what could be the cause of that? What would dictate that? So I'm going to show you the wee example that we filmed earlier, and then obviously I'm going to use the globe scientific instrument, that being a whiteboard and a pen. And again, I'm going to go through what I've went through before. As I said, I'm always going to keep asking the questions here. I'm going to keep rubbing salt in the wounds, because from a globe proponent's viewpoint, they are very biased. They are no willing to open up and engage with honest questioning. They only offer you, their religious bias, and that's it. So again, I'm only interested in the honest people out there who are actively and honestly inquiring into the reality and what it actually is and how it functions. So let's just get to the sharing of what we were up to earlier. And obviously I'm just going to pause in between. It's not a long video, so never mind me topless there, whatever. Wait a minute, I can't have that big. Wait a minute. That's better, so that I can see what I'm doing. Right. So here you can see we've got two helium balloons and we've just got a normal balloon with air in it, okay, hanging from the top. Obviously the helium balloons are connected to the bottom because the helium balloon rises upwards. So this, for me, can demonstrate how we can have direction, how we can have layering of density, and how they would, separate into the layerings. So we have direction, we have weight, we have the density, and for me, motion can answer that. And again, it is demonstrable, as you can see here. So remember, as you look at the screen, the van is going to move from your right to left. Okay? Yep. So right away, as soon as the van starts to accelerate, you see here that the balloon with just air in it moves towards the back of the van, and the two helium balloons move immediately towards the front. So what we can explain in that is that there's a compression of the air within the contained unit, and the motion creates a compression towards the back, which then creates more density of the air. And obviously the helium being less dense is now affected by the more dense compression at the back here, forcing the helium balloon forward. You can see every time that there's an acceleration, that's what's happening. And again, pay attention to what happens when we brake. There. Now you can see what's happening as we brake. Now the opposite happens. The compression shifts to the front of the van, creates a denser layer here, causing what you could call an upward or buoyant force that's affecting the less dense gas within the helium balloons, forcing them back the way. Excellent. Just do it again, mate. Play the two for each. Don't need the volume. Just a wee bit. Visually excellent, yeah. Same again as we turn. Dan turned right there. So, anybody knows that if you're driving a vehicle and say you make a right turn, your weight, everything's going to shift to the left. You will feel the effect of that centrifugal force, as you want to call it, pushing you towards the left of the vehicle. Where again, the opposite is true with the helium balloons, because the air is being compressed towards the left side of the van, creating a denser medium, if you like, causing a buoyant or upward force and pressing on the helium balloons, forcing them to the right hand side. But we never done many examples of turning a corner, but you can see it here. This was just to demonstrate, straight line motion. Same again as it breaks, you get the opposite. So in a wee second here I'm just going to cut to the water. So same again, the same thing applies here. We're going from right to left. What you're going to see here with the air that is contained within the bottle is that we have a compression. As the van accelerates, the water is going to compress towards the back, which obviously creates a more denser region that's going to force the air bubble forwards. Right. There you go. The same again when we brake, you will see it shift towards the back. So, let me just get my screen back up here. I'll make a wee smoke while we have a wee ponder on this. Now, as I've spoke about before, the problem that we have, you know, these are demonstrations that we can have. The question will arise, you know, if we're going to postulate that there's a uniformity in motion in regards to the Earth. Again, we're only discussing, nobody's making any, you know, definite claims here. We're questioning, we're asking the questions, and further testing can be done, okay? So for me, when I play with this concept, this notion, the thing always arises where people would say that the reference frame, the Earth in itself, would have to continually accelerate. Now I've got issues with that and I've got questions about it, because, you know, we're always discussing these things within the reference frame of Earth. So to postulate the possibility that the Earth was moving, then as, you know, we are within that frame of reference, we have to overcome that constant motion, which is why we have to have constant acceleration. You know, when you're driving your car, you have to keep the power on in order to feel what we've just, you know, displayed there, that feeling of being pressed back into the chair. You have to constantly continue an exponential acceleration in order for you to continually feel that. And you know that you can accelerate up to 70 miles an hour, and once the accelerating's, you know, over where you reach a uniform speed, you're not going to feel that pressing anymore. Okay, but these things are when you're already within the reference frame, and as I say, if you're postulating that it is moving uniformly, then you're constantly having to overcome that. The question arises, would the reference frame as a whole have to continually accelerate? And I'll use the whiteboard and we can ask the questions here again. To say, I don't really give a fuck if people are not interested in it. I'm interested in it because reality is interesting to me, and I've got questions about it, so I'm going to continually pursue in order to get a better understanding. So, hello, peoples. David Marks, World Without Curve, Beyond Belief. The object in 3D space requires something in uniform motion to press upon, give direction and weight. Exactly, I'm just going to get to that and again in a wee second here. Obviously there's some of you that have heard this before, but as I say, nothing's done and dusted, and right now we don't have the exploration. We're stuck. Nobody seems interested in any of that. Nobody seems interested in exploring it up the way, down the way, left, right. I really don't know where people are at in regards to it. And obviously again, going back to the whole rocket thing, we're in a world where, you know, logistically, in order to achieve some of these things, there is a monetary aspect in it. So, you know, again, I don't monetize in regards to my input or what I've offered here on YouTube for over 5 years. But if we want to have progress in regards to, you know, finding out, you know, what's up above us or what's across the way or whatever, then we're going to have resources in order to achieve that. And right now, the system that we operate in requires, you know, money. So people just seem to have an aversion to any of that. And as soon as anybody postulates a project in order to, you know, further progress, people are all jumping on a bandwagon of hatred and, you know, whatever else. I mean, really all it does is highlight how little interest people actually have in regards to finding out further what they think reality is. But hey ho, that's up to you. If people want to just sit about no getting anywhere and trying to be fucking celebrities and relevant people's own YouTubes, then barren, you know, but don't fucking call yourself somebody that's interested in truth, because you're fucking no, right? You're a people hater, and you're an insecure wee twats, and all you can do is spend your time hating people. Shows you how insecure people are. Anywho, let them get on with it. They'll eat themselves. So aye, time for the fucking globe scientifical instrument to come out. Oh, hey, it's the fucking whiteboard. All the globe proponents will be fucking somersaulting with joy. Their number one scientific instrument is a fucking whiteboard and a pen. So, I'm going to have to hold it up like this. So, we'll come back, obviously, to what I was showing. But, you know, we're playing a game here and we're having to postulate certain things. So if you watch some of the videos about, you know, the equivalence principle, they'll talk about getting to a region where there's no gravity. Right, so we'll just say we're in a void, you know, forget the parameters of the confines of the whiteboard. You've got to just imagine that we've got a three-dimensional space, okay? And there's nothing in that three-dimensional space, you know, we can't even postulate some sort of medium like an ether or whatever, okay? So we'll call it a room, right? And we can say that room's an object, okay? So we've got a containment in there. Now, nothing's moving, the object's no moving, this reference frame has no direction, weight, or any of that stuff. Now what we can do is we can put things in the room. We can put a wee man, we can put an object, we could put a ball in there, we could inject some gases in there, you know, hydrogen, everything, all the gases, and it would probably just expand and fill the void. Within the gases there would be no density layerings. We can put some liquid in there, but again the liquid would just be meandering all over the place. It would probably just remain static. What do you know, again, you know, what factors would we need to have in order to create direction for the reference frame and the occupants of the reference frame, the people, the objects, the gas, the liquids, you know, how do we get the direction? Again, for me, the only thing, as I say, we've postulated this before, they talk about uniform fields. So, you know, whatever people want to imagine in a uniform field that would dictate a direction from top to bottom, right? As I've said before, you would have to postulate something that's coming from the top, that permeates everything and flows from the top downwards, okay? That presses on things, that would, you know, compress the more dense objects towards the bottom, and you would have your density layerings. But what do we have? What can we postulate? What can we observe, or what can we demonstrate to each other in regards to some sort of uniform field that would achieve that? Can anybody create something like that? No, they can't. They just talk about it using circular reasoning and basing things on assumptions. Like you're already on a globe, there already is this gravity stuffs, and then they work it from there, right? Well, I'm asking the question based on this, you know, unless you can offer me something that flows from the top downwards that would affect everything in accordance with the density layerings and give us the upward force, the buoyant force, then I'm willing to listen to it. But as of now, the only thing that can happen is that I can put this reference frame into motion. Now what's going to happen, as we experienced with the example in the van, well, what's going to happen as soon as that moves? So just like the van going in that kind of direction, we've just inverted it and we're doing it, you know, up the way relative to us. Okay? Then the liquids, the gases and the materials are going to come into contact with the base. Now if you had solid particulates in there, rock, whatever, then as that compresses, obviously these substances are more dense. They're going to move through the gas, the liquid, and they're going to come into contact with the base, and they're probably going to settle there. Now you're going to have the layering of everything else. The liquid is going to be compressed. The gas is going to compress, just as we've seen in the instance of the van and the motion. Okay? Shit. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought there. So, from introducing motion into the reference frame, we get a compression, which gives us our density, layerings and everything else. We also get a direction. Again, none of the objects in here, the person, the ball, the rock, whatever, it has mass, it has volume, it has form, it has a shape, blah blah blah. It has no weight, it has no direction until it comes into contact with a reference frame which is moving towards it. Now everything has a definite direction of down, okay, because it's opposed to the upward motion. As I said before, when these people bring up gravity, well, you can just invert it and say that it's the earth that moves towards us. The maths works out the exact same, if that's what they want to use. But again, as I said, it's a separate issue. It's got nothing to do with establishing the earth, the shape of the earth. But these people have not got the intellectual honesty to admit that and bring that to the table, because they know that as soon as we start playing practically, that it's detrimental to them. Again, you know, as I realised and then discovered that Newton spoke about it, you know, the absurdity of the heliocentric model is we've got a vacuum here. Okay, so between two objects there is nothing, there is no medium, absolutely diddly squat going on, right? But again, they want to postulate that these two objects are somehow bringing each other towards them, right? We fuck all get in between them, right? So we can understand that if we had here, right, and we caused a lower pressure to happen here, then the higher pressure surrounding it and surrounding this object would rush in there, carry the ball forward and push the ball into the lower pressure region. Okay, so when people say action at a distance, well, that's no action at a distance. It is a form of action at a distance, but it's not a vacuum between the two of them, because there is a medium there when we talk about air and these types of things. Okay, same when they talk about magnetism. But in the heliocentric model, they're not postulating a medium between objects. They're postulating fuck all, no medium, a vacuum. Zilch, nothing between them. So, you know, when you look at Newton quoted as saying that, you know, to think that you can have mutual attraction between two objects within a medium like a vacuum is absolutely preposterous and absurd. But that's what the offer is. And again, as I pointed out, we all understand now, hopefully, that motion can only be achieved by pressure variance. So you either apply a pressure on any aspect of any object and it's going to go in that particular direction wherever you apply the pressure. Or in a case like this, you can create a decrease in pressure and you have an influx of higher pressure creating what we call motion. So, you know, action at a distance in a void, two objects somehow affecting each other is just the fucking thinking of lunatics. So when we understand that motion is created by applying a pressure or, you know, taking pressure down, then, you know, we can start to extrapolate on these things. We can start to utilise them, okay? Because we can quite clearly state that action at a distance, an object affecting another object through a vacuum, is fucking lunacy. But again, We get to the heliocentric model. You've got a uniform field around a wee potato rock, right? And that fucking thing's spinning, creating a centrifugal effect. Only balanced perfectly at the equator. As you move inwards, you would have to get heavier, because the calculations are from the equator, 1,000 miles per hour, rim velocity at the equator, counteracting gravity. But we don't all live at the equator. And again, it doesn't apply when we're talking about Newton and Newton's findings of uniformity and motion and whatever else, because it's no straight lines that the heliocentric model's proposing. Okay, it's curves and spins and wobbles and gyrating and all sorts of fucking gymnastics going on. Again, none of that is demonstrable. You can't take any of that and demonstrate it in any way, shape or form in your reality. When we spin an object, or if you're on a carousel, something that's rotating, you're being thrown outwards. There's nothing sucking you and pulling you in towards the centre. Some magical gibberish. But again, it's the same thing. We need to leave the reference frame in order for me to demonstrate my mental gymnastics. Again, practicing pseudoscience. So there's no point in just calling names and hand wave dismissing. Some of these idols that these people chant about have focused on these aspects. They've stated them and they've offered them up. So you can't just keep walking about ignoring it, professing that people like me are just some sort of crazy crackpots that think they knew better than Newton and Einstein, because these very people were saying the exact same things to you. Now for me personally, in my journey, I made these discoveries and then discovered people like Newton and Einstein talking about them. And it's better that way, because then I'm not affected by other people's thinking. If you're pursuing and asking the questions yourself, you're going to make the discoveries. Then you may be able to relate to some of these other people who have already walked that path. So again, uniform gravitational field or Earth that's in uniform motion, there is no way for people that are within that reference frame to be able to tell the difference. Their words, no mine. The whole previous video about, me showing how a curved surface would appear to us, it wasn't trying to prove anything about the shape of the Earth. It was a demonstration on how it would appear to us. Now I've got some moron, what's his name? David Gregory. Del, literally no one says that a hump rises in front of you. No one ever. Well, David Gregory, I beg to differ. Because if you go to any of these depictions from your cult zealot priests, they're continually showing you that. They're continually showing you footage and saying that the curve is rising up in front of you, because I don't know if you're aware of it, when you look through a camera or with your eyes, the floor appears to rise up in front of you. Okay? So what they're basically saying is that that's happening and then it's curving downwards away from you. What I was demonstrating is that if you say to me that my horizon now on a sphere Earth, it's a fixed geometry, which means your horizon is a fixed thing, it's a physicality, right? Now, if you pinpoint that for me, now tell me exactly where you want it to be, and as I elevate up from that point, what I should be doing is tilting downwards and looking down the slope of the Earth. Okay? What I also showed with that is that nothing should be obstructed for hundreds of miles. And if you want me to increase the scale of it, I will. But I'm warning you, it's going to become ever more apparent that you shouldn't be obstructing anything by Earth curvature at distances of 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 miles. But yet that's what you people continually keep trying to show and state that that's what's happening. Again, all it is a display of their dishonesty and their unwillingness to question what they assume to be true. They just cherry pick and look for biased confirmation and then try and assert that to everybody else that it's some sort of scientifical endeavour. It's no, it's fucking lies, dishonesty. So, I will increase the scale and I'm going to show you how fucking absurd it is that you think over a distance of 10 miles that there's some earth curve, hump, getting in the way of you and another object. We've continually asked you to account for vision, to account for the apparatus that you're using to try and profess that you have scientific proofs, yet you don't account for the instrumentation. You do not account for how we view the world and how optical devices perceive the world. So getting back to what I was demonstrating there. Again, don't be lazy. Ask the questions, demonstrate it for yourself, see where it takes you. Motion for me can answer the questions of why we have direction, why we have a direction of down, why objects fall the way they fall, why we have density, why we have the buoyant upward force. Because static reference frames just don't cut it. I can't demonstrate a static reference frame with a top-down flow of something. We use things like centrifuge devices to separate particulates because they understand that that motion is what creates that. It will separate the density layers. Just because it brings more questions and unanswered questions doesn't negate what you can demonstrate. But this again comes back to the problem. You've been brought up in this know-all fucking attitude where you think everything's been answered. Just because there's an explanation doesn't mean to say things have been answered. And you think that every single question that's put up there should have an answer. That's not how, objective inquiry works. You ask one question, you try and establish what's going on, and you move on in increments. You don't just ask one question and then, gish gallop your way to fucking all sorts of other crap. That's the reasoning and the mentality of a fucking cult member that will come at you and gish gallop away from one point and ask you to answer points on every other fucking thing. Fuck them. All they have is explanations. They've not established anything at all. As I'm going to continually break apart, they invoke all sorts of fucking gibberish in their explanations. Their explanations are loaded with assumptions, word salads, mental gymnastics. Reality is much more simple than the contrived complexity that these dick squeezers have offered up, because it's all founded upon assumptions, concepts, lies, and it just gets more complicated and more complicated because they're adamant that they want to maintain the model that they have, because again there's so much invested interest in a particular model that people don't want to let it go. And just because people have a comprehension of a particular concept or model, they think because they can comprehend it that it validates it, and that's where they operate from. They've never addressed the base assumptions. They've never went through the procedure of practicality in order to establish the assumptions that they hold. So they're not all lying. That's not how it operates. And again, the investigation takes you where you want to go. You've got to negate propaganda. We've all heard the propaganda. Anybody that get involved in this, I'm sure you heard it from the very off. The Flat Earth Society's controlled opposition, which it may well be. That doesn't negate some of the aspects of information that's within it. Right? And the first thing you're going to hear is that they're so absurd and so ridiculous because they postulate that the Earth moves in a uniform motion. And again, I'm going to point you to the fact that you've just came from a cult belief system of non-uniform motion, wobbling, gyrating, spinning, going in all different directions, which again you can't demonstrate in any way, shape or form. And then you come to that and you hear the proposition of uniform motion and you're automatically throwing it out because propaganda said so. That's how disinfo, misinformation operates. Show you a semblance of truth and ridicule it immediately. And before you've had a chance to reason or focus on it properly, you've already thrown it out. And then you run about the place espousing that the Earth's stationary with domes and ice walls and all that stuff, like a fucking lunatic. It does happen quickly beyond belief. And if people are honest with themselves, they will realise how they were affected by propaganda and they never even considered it. So, if, again, just to, go a wee bit further, and again, these are things that you could demonstrate for yourself. Everybody's bounced on a trampoline. Okay, so, if we're within a reference frame that was in uniform motion, okay, so if it's already in motion, right, and I'm a wee dude in there with a long body and wee legs, I'm already fixed on the ground. Now if I was to hold an object like a ball, the reference frame, me and the ball are all moving with the reference frame, okay, so this has momentum, I have momentum, okay. When I let that object go, that object is still in motion. What has to happen with that object is that it has to decelerate because it's already in motion with a reference frame. So it has to go through a process of decelerating. But again, I don't have any definite answers. I'm not making any definite claims. I'm inviting the discussion, I'm asking the questions and see what everybody else has got. There's no point in jumping on bandwagons and saying, Dell says the Earth's doing this and Dell says the Earth's doing that, because you're just misrepresenting and telling fucking lies. Again, muddying the waters of proper, discussion and inquiry into it. I don't know why people are so defensive about their wee cult beliefs, whether you're a globe proponent or a flat earth proponent, and you've got these wee mantras that you want to defend and attack anybody that dares to question it, because that's not healthy for you. So there's no point in sitting just hand wave dismissing. You can if you want, but that's not going to bring anything to it. It's not going to help me. So if you're interested in it and you've got anything that you want to add, ask questions, offer up what you've got to offer, have a discussion about it, send me an email, come in and we can have that discussion. But as I say, you can take the heliocentric gibberish of gravity, you can just invert it and say it's the Earth that moves towards. The mathematics will work out the exact fucking same. And as I said, one of them's demonstrable, one of them's no. Because with the globe model, you can't demonstrate any of it. You've got to listen to fucking bedtime stories about guys 200 years ago in their shed with lead balls and all this pish. Or hearing excuses like the Earth gets in the way, so we need to be away from Earth in order for them to demonstrate their postulations. That's just pseudoscience. No use, no interested in it. If you want to engage in pseudoscience and fill yourself with fucking little beliefs, that's up to you. But don't come at me expecting me to buy into your fucking cult lunacy, because I'm not interested in it. If you can demonstrate what you're trying to claim, fine. I'm going to look at it honestly. And if it holds up and I can demonstrate it myself, I'll accept it and I'll present it. Again, TMF, you know, with the sky, the luminaries and blah, blah, blah. You know, it's the same problem again. You know, what happens with some people is that they come from heliocentric, you know, universes. And if they take away the ball Earth, what they're trying to do is keep everything else the same and just place a flat disc in where the fucking globular Earth would be. Right? Because they've got you in your mind thinking that there's this vacuum between you and the apparent objects that you see above you, and that there's these vacuous empty spaces between them. How do you know it's not just one self-contained unit? Because it could be. You could be sitting on the top of a fucking massive fucking rocket for all you know. That's capped with a fucking dome and all that stuff if you like. But the point is how quickly people jump to negating and hand-wave dismissing certain aspects or certain questions. And you've got to look at that and see where that's based in, because a lot of it, as I say, is influenced by baggage from previous thought patterns. They're the ones that postulated that these apparent objects and planetoids are separate from our reference frame and there's a vacuous space between them. How do you know that? What if we're in one self-contained unit and maybe outside that unit there is a vacuum? A place of no resistance, which then would mean that you only need an initial push. You don't need a constant input of energy in order to keep it in motion. You know, look at something like the Big Bang. Why did they have to come up with that? They knew they had to have motion introduced to it. So they postulate the Big Bang. What if the Big Bang was just the initial push of the reference frame? And everything that we experience is part of that reference frame, and the whole thing is in uniform motion. Again, I don't know. I'm only asking the questions. No affirmed statements being made. But this is where the thoughts take you. So, hello everybody. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and we'll see if anybody's requested. If you want to join, if you've got something to add, you need to send a message to the email address above. Scott Walker, long planar distances. Dale, would it be possible to hire persuade land surveyors who could remain anonymous to measure Loch Ness and using tech as a starting point and take it from there? Scott, I don't know why you keep asking me that, Scott, because again, it's fucking preposterous. To me, it is absolutely preposterous. I can test the substance. I can test the water at Loch Lomond. I know how that behaves, right? So it's up to somebody else that wants to postulate that it's bending, that from one end of Loch Lomond at 28 miles there's a drop of 400 feet from one end to the other. Relative to your starting point, the other end's going to drop 400 feet and there's going to be a curved bend on the surface of that water. Why do people keep trying to postulate using man-made instruments to determine and measure a substance that is more accurate than any man-made instrument, especially over a long distance? Loch Lomond doesn't flow away anywhere. It's a standing body of water. The surface is a horizontal plane, equal in elevation on any given point, from one point to any other point upon that surface. That's reality. That's what I can test. That's what I can demonstrate. Somebody wants to postulate that it's behaving contrary to what the test shows. That's up to them. How are they going to achieve that? Alwyn Bryan. What's this? What's going on? Respond to this video. No worries, Alwyn. You just demand and I'll jump, right?
Hi everyone, I'm currently on a short 2-week break.
I'm not listening to that lying piece of sack of shit. I'm not going to play it right now. I'll have a look at it when I'm over here. And then I may respond to it. But right now I'm not going to sit listening to fucking idiot here. Liar. Talking for 13 minutes. Go and tell Simon Plamf that I called his bluff. Him and his other wee buddies about lie detectors and all this stuff. Because I'm a lie detector. These cunts are lying. And it's in their content. Called their bluff. Called their bluff on lie detectors. Called their bluff on coming for discussions and all this talk. All I get is excuses. They keep misrepresenting me. That I've got some horse in the race and I don't want to listen to anything that contradicts it. It's fucking lies. I'm not going to sit here and allow them to spew sophistry and barefaced lies on my platform. I'm going to constantly interrupt them. If they come with honesty, integrity, manners, respect, they'll get the same in return. So I've been here before any of these people even thought about appearing on YouTube. The platform's been open and I've actively invited any of them to come and offer what they have. All we get is the same crap. And if they don't get their way, they'll play porn on the channel or something and try and get it, banned, as we've seen in previous. So I'll check it out, no right now. And if it's worth responding to, I might. But for this evening, I'm asking the questions. Is gravity an effect of motion and uniform, straight line motion of the earth? I know YouTube, I know about the lie detector tests, but as I say, I'm just calling their bluff. Because none of these people have ever got any intention of carrying out. It's just all bluster. They just want to sound good. Right? To the little fucking idiotic, blind followers who are only interested in having their bias confirmed, And these people represent that for them. They're totem poles of confirmation bias. Little idols for the bewildered and the lazy. I mean, again, that they're now back to, it went from the beginning that they were offering images. Then because, people like myself are highlighting that an image isn't scientific proof and that these videos and images from NASA, had flaws and anomalies in them, they went away from that and they stopped offering it. Now they've ran out of ideas, they're back to postulating an image again and saying, well, debunk the image. Look, see, at the end of the day, you can watch a movie of people in space and the earth there. There's ways of achieving it that doesn't require, trickery of the actual image or fuckery of the image. I could create an image and present it to you and then say, well, debunk me. I could present an image to you and say that was me at fucking the Andromeda Galaxy and then say, debunk me. There's ways and means of presenting images and video through a screen. So, I've asked these people again recently, are you going to claim to me that an image is now scientific proof of whatever it is you want to claim? Because if they keep going that road, they're opening up a can of worms. What they're basically offering up is the opportunity for anybody to present any sort of image through a screen and profess that it's real. It's it's beyond comprehension. But that's where they're at again. They've now run out of ideas. So they're trying to play the whole card that, you know, we're all loonies again, we're dangerous loonies and this, that and the other, and they've got fucking images and yada yada yada. It's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Again, you want to join me, you need to send an email. The Deldromeda Galaxy, that's it. Think about it, Gideon. It's never above anybody's pay grade. You know, we've all got the ability to ask the questions and contemplate. Exactly. Exactly, have no fear. That's it, you know, no story now. They talk about that. How can it be dark here and light there? We'll ask them the question, how can the fucking sun be here in the UK and in New Zealand and visible in Australia all at the fucking same time? But they just ignore all that stuff. Because it doesn't fit their wee idiotic cult worldview. Oh aye, Marty was telling me about that hazmat. He told me about that last week apparently. It's been recalculated and the end of the world is what, tomorrow? Brilliant, bring it on. Bring it on. Destroy the fucking, the absolute abomination. Get rid of it. Surely it's going to be better after this. Sean McClure, they'll use, you know, magnetism and try and utilise that as something relevant or relevance in regards to gravity. But again, you know, magnetism's within the medium, you know, it's here on Earth. You know, their gravity is, you know, space balls with a vacuum between them. Fuck all medium, nothing. And each space ball can affect the other one through fuck all. But that's just what they always use. It's part of the sophistry. They use a false equivalence, you know, they'll misrepresent, they'll use false analogies, they'll use anything just to try and implant the image that satisfies people. You know, oh, gravity's like this, like a magnet, therefore you... But again, the same thing with magnetism. Are they really going to postulate some sort of pulley force? No, it has to be some sort of compression, some, you know, decrease within a medium of pressure or whatever that causes a flow into that region. But magnetism, I would go along those lines of thought, rather than postulating absurdities like abracadabra, come towards me. Nonsense. Beyond belief, it's constant. You know, obviously I've brought these things up before, and it's the same all the time. We'll just lie and misrepresent you and profess that you claim that, you know, what I'm talking about right now is my claim. When it's not, it's an investigation. I'm quite clearly demonstrating and asking the questions as titled here. Is motion the cause of gravity? Now remember, gravity is only, you know, a word attributed to, you know, the direction of down and the way in which objects fall that appear to fall to us. So that's pretty much what gravity means. It's got fuck all to do with the shape of the earth or the universe or any of that stuff. But they've just utilised it and started from assumptions and extrapolated it out, utilising this central core magic stuffs and tried to explain everything using fantasy. So no, I mean, you know, you've witnessed it, and you probably still witness it, that it will be a constant misrepresentation. You know, Del Shays the Earth's moving upwards. Even if I was stating that, it's much more feasible based on practical reference than fucking postulating wobbly, gyrating, spinning ellipsoids. However, Harry Hill, answer the question. Are you one of these people that professes that an image on a screen is scientific measurable proof of a claim? I fucking hope no. This is how absurd it's got. People defend something that they've never experienced or witnessed themselves. They see it on a TV and they fucking defend it. How absurd and fucking lazy and stupid must you be? Same fucking soccer accounts continually. It'll be the same people. Remember this online, the Globe representatives are very few, right? Because you're asking people to actively fucking bullshit and tell fucking lies. They've not got an unlimited amount of personnel. So it's the same characters making soccer accounts, trying to give you the appearance that there's more. Same with their videos, all these endless fucking soccer accounts that don't produce content or fuck all. Being prompted up, promoted through the algorithms, all sorts of subscribers and viewers, trying to give the illusion that they've got consensus behind them because gullible, weak people are affected by that. I couldn't give a fuck. Couldn't give a fuck. They could have 1 million views every 10 minutes and I could not give a rat's arse. It's not going to sway me or intimidate me. Many times have they got to be told your fucking futile, childlike, infantile fucking tactics are useless. You're not dealing with a weak mind. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Jug, it's too much to fit in the glass.
No worries.
You're welcome.
It's a big manly jug.
Yeah.
It's a big manly jug anyway.
Aye, aye.
Grrr. Okay, manly What? That's it. It's my satanic fucking juice. It's full of goats and baby blood and fucking all sorts of stuffies. Emma does a wee ritual with 33s and 66 and all that before she brings it out to me. Exactly, Thomas Groen. Exactly. They're useful idiots. You know, don't waste your time with them thinking that you're going to get any progress or any, you know, concessions or any of that stuff for them, especially online. Because they're not there for that. But as I say, for me, I utilise them as useful idiots to highlight some of their tactics and some of the absurdities that they offer. Three sugars in your coffee. You're confirmed Illumitardi. Riddle me this. Confirmed. You'll be appearing in a fucking Russian vids video shortly. That'd be unbelief. No, even that's got the viscosity to fucking conform to the exterior of objects. You know? I couldn't even get that to stay wrapped through a fucking globe. I could demonstrate it to you if we can leave Earth right enough. Scientifical. I said it. I've made a statement. I've gave you a valid excuse because Earth gets in the way, so we need to go to outer space. You coming? Come on, I'll show you. Yes, one man, he's the detector. I've got all sorts of concoctions. That's one of them. Let me see. I don't think MD's want to join. Nobody's getting to say it, but the usual. Everybody's got something to say, but they can't say it directly. They can't just come to the table and have a discussion about it. So it might be a short evening because I've not really got much else to talk about. As I say, you know, in the coming future, you can, you know, if you're watching this and you know somebody that wants to engage, but you would like me to cover a certain topic. There are certain topics that have got my interest. You know, obviously, objective inquiry, consciousness, spirituality, whatever the fuck that is. I can discuss any of that stuff. These are the types of things that you know trigger my curiosity. So if you want me to talk about any of that stuff, you send me an email or whatever, stick it in the chat box that you would like me to talk about it. You know, because for me, you know, these things that I've just listed are relevant to, you know, our situation, the experience of life. No, can you fuck, Siddy? If they believe in convex oceans, I mean, how can you reason with them? Half human, half zombie, it's been told a million times. You're just another one of these lying little creepy cunts, right? The reason for why that's in the title, you fucking idiot. Okay? It's been spoken to you a million fucking times. Flat leather are two different things, we know. We know. Well done. Give half human, half zombie 4.5 gold stars. Eh? Very, very observant. Belief is the death of intelligence, selling degenerates. You're fucking spot on. All day, one night, Flat Earth Banner will talk about consciousness. But again, the majority of the philosophical debates about consciousness are just that. They're just concepts and ideas again. It's back to this again, you know, it's like we're equipped to be explorers and experiencers. Right, but what's happened through the mainstream and the education system is that they've halted that. They've halted the explorer and the inquirer. They've turned the attention of the inquirer into realms of, you know, utter lunacy. So, you know, an example of that is that, you know, we can experience life, we can experience reality, and we can play with the effects of reality, and we can move forward from one moment to the next and blah, blah, blah. What they have done is, you know, they've went a religious route, where they've taken people into the realms of looking for an ultimate cause, which for me, we can have a discussion about that, is futile, because we are within the effects of what we experience. To try and turn your attention to the ultimate cause is a futile endeavour. And what really does it serve you? What purpose does it serve you? The purpose for me is to stagnate you. Right, taking you into the realms of mental gymnastics forever and ever and ever and ever, which is why things like, you know, the philosophy of consciousness has been debated and spoken about and written about endlessly for fucking millennia. Right, It's the same way creation. How did it all get here? What gives rise to it? What's the nitty gritty of the stuffs? That's how you end up invoking wee mini space balls, zipping round each other with fuck all between them and fuck all inside them. This is where these lunatics end up. Because that's not what we're equipped for. We're equipped to experience it. To play with the experience. And move forward and progress through that. But if you look at it psychologically, physically, you know, these narratives and how they've turned the attention of people stagnates you. Because the majority of people start with an assumption that the majority it's all answered. So now we're just going to sit and play with mental constructs about consciousness and what gives rise to it and yada yada yada. It's fucking simple. Without the thing that you call consciousness, the body just lies there and does fuck all. So it requires that aspect. Now, when you're conscious or your consciousness is there, you can now animate the body. You can find nutrients for it. You can give it whatever it needs. You can have experience, blah, blah, blah. As soon as you start trying to turn in and answer the question of what is consciousness, what use is that to you? What fucking use is it? It's maybe useful if you're inquiring about the possibility that you're a soul that lives on after death, and that's where the majority of these debates and discussions are stemming from. But again, it's a waste of your fucking time because you're missing the now, you're missing the experience. Contemplating what's away ahead of you, or contemplating fucking infinitely into the past. They've got you focusing away out there and away behind you rather than what's immediately in front of you. So for me, you know, it's one and the same. We talk about consciousness and we talk about the objective world. The majority of the focus is on, you know, finding stories and narratives of what gave rise to it and where it's going to end up. And for me, that stagnates progress. You wake up, you're conscious, you have the ability to experience, you have the ability to reason, you have the ability to progress. So just live with that and deal with that. You know, as I say, you can see the religious aspect of, you know, mainstream science, right? Because that's what they offer you. They're trying to offer you existential stories. Oh, how did it all begin? Where's it all going? What does it all mean? Fuck off. Let us just experience it. Let us just experience it and play and be free to explore it without any fucking restrictions. And stop creating fucking mental illness by stagnating the explorer and the inquirer, taking them into the realms of fucking gibberish. How are you going to find the cause of reality? Because you're unreality. So do you think you can remove yourself from the reference frame of reality and experience in order to know what gave rise to it? No, you fucking can't. So you're going to end up with idiotic fucking stories. And the majority of them are fucking finite dribble. Because if you start entertaining, you know, the problem that mathematicians have and philosophers and whatever else is that they negate infinite and eternal. Because they can't box it, they can't put a geometry around it, they can't quantify it and break it up into wee constituent parts so that they feel secure with it. So they fucking just throw it out. Then they start postulating all these finite narratives and fucking stories. Finite narratives and stories takes you to a place, you end up at a place of no thing, which is preposterous. That's where you're going to go when you start playing with these stories. Your life may be finite in regards to you're born and you die, but what's encompassing it, what gave rise to it all? Can it be something finite? Because if you're going to say that, you have to postulate that it appeared from fucking nowhere, with no rhyme or reason to it, and nothing created it. Which is idiotic as far as I'm concerned. Margaret McAleese. I would like you to describe how a motorcycle engine works. I would come on and ask questions, but my speakers don't work on this computer. Thanks, Dell Auntie Meg. Now, like any machine, look, the majority of, you know, machinery, as far as we understand it, comes down to two principles: incline planes and levers. So you always have one thing pressing on another thing, pressing on another thing, pressing on another thing, that brings you your desired outcome. In the case of a motorcycle, it's propulsion, what we call motion. So from every facet of that, you've got one thing. You know, again, we've got the electrical component where we can speak about that. But basically that signal affects what we call a solenoid. The solenoid will engage a flywheel. Okay, now that will turn the flywheel, so you've got levers. A cog is just a sequence of levers that will engage that, press on it, put it into motion, which then transfers through the crankshaft, through the levers of the con rods into the pistons, yada yada yada. It's always one thing connected to another thing. When we're talking about motion, machinery and whatever else, it's, you know, I could break it down, I could show you a diagram and I could show you every increment of what touches what and how it affects it to create the desired outcome. But everything we understand, everything that we utilise, motion, machines, blah blah, it comes down to incline planes and levers. An incline plane's a screw. So you know how a screw works. If you look at that, it's just a lever that's inclined, like a Helios. Okay? So when you turn it, it grips, presses in, and well, you can wind it in. So that's the principles of machinery. That's what we utilise in everything. Which again shows you that in order to achieve motion, you need pressure of some kind. You need something pressing on something else. I know that was just a wee brief anti-meg, but if you want a more detailed explanation, then I can bring up diagrams and I can walk you through it. One man he's detected, it seems impossible to be able to think outside of this reality's workings. Well, that's the problem, as I've just been speaking about. You are an effect. You are within the construct. Unless there's a way, an access point, you know, outside of the reality machine, that you can then remove yourself from where we are and see it and see its workings and what surrounds it. Might be possible. I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe you can do that. And that's why they've got you looking inwards to the stuff. Oh, it's all made of wee space balls. It's wee space testicles that zip round each other and there's fuck all inside them and there's fuck all between them wee space balls, aye. Where does that leave you? That takes you into the realms of fucking quarks and fucking zonks and whatever else they want to come up with. Utter fucking rubbish. Can't stop drinking that, it's fucking addictive. String theory, aye. Multiverse. Okay, if you want to join me, you need to send me an email. It was a nice day today, Calypso, I agree. I will, Auntie Meg, I'll show you a diagram and I'll walk you through it. Reciprocal ding-alarm, aye, exactly. Yes. I'm not smoking a joint now. The usual, if they're hiding in the fucking chat box, it's usual. I'm just going to ignore them. They've got the opportunity here. I'm sick of them descending on the comment sections and just spamming it with fucking crap. I can't be bothered responding to them. So, you know, they're warmed here right now. If I see you in the comment section, I'm just going to remove it. So I'm not interested in you spamming the comment section with your fucking sophistry. You can reach people by coming and engaging in a discussion, if you're capable. The problem with half these accounts is that they're no genuine people. They're people posing, right? And they're probably, you know, characters that you've seen before. So they'll give their game up. That's why they don't. They'll just sit there acting like victims, like I'm some sort of big bad ogre. Right? Wee bunch of wee snowflakes. Exactly. And the chance. Go and spew that to ballers. They'll probably think you're a fucking a wizard engineer or something, because it all sounds good to them. That's all words that will titillate them. They'll get fucking awful on that shite. Right, that's that on my eyes. It is. Totally said I'll catch you. That's been my whole, you know, foundations, you know, that I've always said to people, look, whatever you believe, whatever you fantasize about, you do not know exactly where you are. You do not know what the game is, why you're here, how it came to be. Without the answers to those questions, your life is just one big delusion. Regardless of how meaningful you want to make it or tell yourself about it, or how thrilled you are with experiences or sad you are with experiences or any of the emotions in between, they're just delusions. It's false, it's fake, because you do not know what you're a part of here. But everybody seems to accept that's a okay baseline to start from, while they build their mental constructs of certainty. The certainty that they call their life and their experience. They may well be having experiences, everybody is having experiences. I'm not saying those experiences are, you know, no real, they're real experiences, but they're meaningless in regards to, you know, the encapsulating questions of where you actually are, why you're here, what you're a part of, and how it came to be. And that just seems to be part of the symptoms of the mental fucking disorder that human beings find themselves in. Well, they run about professing certainty and clutching at fucking pseudo-intellectual gibberish, trying to pacify themselves and everybody else run about them. Well, they coin in some money and fucking, you know, create a stature and all this false shite that they build for themselves. It's bizarre. See, I've used the analogy before. You've no memory. I blindfold you. I take you into a place, a fucking game room. Unblindfold you. You don't got a fucking clue where you are. You don't got a fucking clue why you're there. You don't got a clue what the setup is and what's expected of you or any of that stuff. And then you meet other people that are left in the room, and they've been there for a wee while, and they've come up with fucking ideas and concepts, and it works for them. So they start telling you that's what the place is, this is what you've to do, this is what we do, this is our cult, this is how we perform, blah blah blah. And then you observe that and you mimic it and you try and fit yourself into it, and then you run about saying that that's your life. You've never established where you actually were or how you got there. And then you're going to run about telling everybody that you know the game. Just because the delusions become comfortable doesn't mean that they're true. Or the delusions become familiar and comfortable and become habits doesn't make them true. They're not rooted in any objective meaning. That's it with unbelief. For me, it's because they've been born into the cult that told them that they've got to have this pseudo intellect of know-all attitude, because that's what's been presented to them. They're pretty much presenting to children that they've figured out the whole fucking universe and their place within the universe. And there's just some fine details to sort out. So that creates, you know, a delusional, you know, frame in a child's mind. So they're never going to just be able to say, well, I don't know. See, they talk about that you know, real science is the ability to say we don't know, and then we ask you questions and then we find blah blah blah. Well, they're fucking spewing existential fucking stories at you about 14.5 billion years ago, and 4.5 billion years ago soup made life and all this rubbish that they come out with. They're just walking contradictions. Eradicate beliefs, eradicate assumptions, come to a clear passing, standing in the fucking clear, saying, I don't know. What I'm going to do is equip myself to say, well, I need to base things on what I can experience, what I can demonstrate. Then I don't need beliefs and assumptions and all this fucking garbage taking up space, affecting me and influencing me. But how many people have that ability? I can't say I don't know. I mean, there's clever peoples that have worked out the universe. So therefore, sounds good to me, and I looks up to them, and I'm lost, but anyway, fuck it. They said so, and it sounds good, so therefore, I came from nothing. Well done. Good Times for All. Good Times for All's got some videos up there about Van de Graaff machines and, you know, postulations of you know, some sort of electrical field, or, you know, you need to excuse me for no wording it correctly, you need to check out Good Times for All's videos. But the same again applied there, you know, as I spoke about before when we're talking about what we call gravity. You know, and as I say, look, we can postulate motion being the cause, or we have to have some sort of top-down, you know, flow of some kind that affects every known substance, that can give us a direction, that can give us the density layers and blah blah blah. And so far for me, there isn't anything that can demonstrate that. We can see it in examples like Good Times for All can show with the Van de Graaff machine, but it's not every material, it's not every substance. So, you know, there's obviously, as I said, I'm open to any part of it. But right now, I can demonstrate motion. And as I say, I can demonstrate how you get direction, weight, density through motion. But it's worth checking out. People like Good Times for All have asked these questions and pursued, you know, a train of thought and reasoning that's, you know, viable. It's there. People can investigate it and look into it. As I say, there's nothing for me right now that demonstrates it on every substance. That's it. Just an idea. But you pursue the idea, Good Times for All, Zach. That's what it's about. Asking the questions, getting the apparatus, practically, you know, playing with stuff and see what you can find. That's it, John Bernhards, exactly. But as I say, what I'm pointing at is, why would we even want to go there? Are we equipped to go there? Because as far as I can tell, we're equipped to be inquirers and explorers and experiencers. You look at your children, they're not asking these questions. No other sentence is asking these questions. Just because they've got the ability to ask the questions didn't mean to say that it's to your benefit. So I say, for me, we've been taken into the realms of asking these questions that are futile. And again, it restricts us. Why not just utilise what we've got? Inquiry, curiosity, investigation, the ability to explore and see where that takes us. Have experience, actual physical experience, rather than postulating and playing with fucking mental constructs. That's it, beyond belief. You get the ability to ask the questions. According to philosophical materialism, consciousness is just an illusion. It's computations of the matter. And what you call your consciousness is just an illusion. You came from nothing, no rhyme or reason to it. No logic, no rationale, no intent, no design, none of that stuff. But yet, through that random, explosion of from nothingness, out popped you with your ability to ask questions, your ability to reason and discern. But you've got people telling you that it's all illusory. And then you've got to ask them the question, hang on now, an illusion requires an experiencer. So you're still missing the fucking point, materialists. You can't just pass away consciousness as some sort of steam illusion. Because an illusion, by definition, requires somebody to experience the illusion. So what is the aspect of experience? What does it mean for me to experience something? Because that's what's happening. Stimulus is coming in through all the sensory apparatus and I'm just experiencing it. That's not an illusion. Illusions have no pain, Tony. You're fucking right, mate. You're fucking right. Exactly, Study El Carchi. That's what it means to me. Science means to explore without limitations. Walker Dell, my eyes good E. Good E. Are your eyes good? I don't know. Ask your eyes. Have they been naughty this week? Did your eyes tidy the room? I mean, I don't know the context of your question. Right. Are your eyes good? I don't know, they might be bad eyes. They might get up through the night and fucking assault animals or something. I don't know. Need context to your question. Frame the question a bit better. Satellites. Satellites. Aye, satellites is up in the vacuum. The reference frame that's adjacent to your pressurised gas with no barrier between the two of them for reasons, right? But this wee satellite's up there, right? And there's gravity stuffs. Now, there's a big massive thing called the sun that's pulling everything towards it, right? It's so massively big, But yeah, I can send a wee fucking tin can up there that's fucking tiny, and somehow it just stays there and it doesn't get weaked away towards the sun because it's massive gravitational pulses. We men in spacesuits are out walking in space and they don't get weaked away towards the sun either with its big massive gravitational pulsy. Because apparently the Earth's being pulled towards the sun. But yet when we've got wee tiny fractions the size of the Earth out with the Earth, they somehow don't get weaked away towards the sun. No, because it's all magic. It's all brilliant magic. Fuck knows what's going on with these comets either. Same thing. They somehow just managed to avoid the sun and all that. It's just not that powerful. So the ISS is not real. If you mean that there's a fucking tin can and a vacuum which is adjacent to our pressurised gaseous environment with no solid separation between the two, then yes, that's absolutely absurd. You complete and utter crackpot. Why would you even ask that question? Can't fucking find a plane that goes missing. Can't find a plane that goes missing, but we can fucking put tin cans and all that into the vacuum of fucking space and remote control stuffs for fucking gazillions of miles away and all that. Aye, we're on Mars with robots. Look at that, sending pictures and all that stuff. And we've got signals that can get to it and we can make it do stuffsies, but fuck knows where the plane went. Fuck knows where all these children that go missing every year went. Fuck that. You've been watching too much fucking Star Trek and Star Wars, my man. Right? It's filled your head full of fucking broken bottles. And you fantasised about it as a child. And then as you grew up, they offered you adult versions of it. And you never stopped to reason with it or discern any of it. You just sat it all in, took it all on board, and now you're here spewing your garbage based on your fucking fantasy. Never stopped to question it or think about it. Now you're coming here embarrassing yourself. Talking about tin cans and vacuums. Wee spacemen. Woohoo. Stop being a retard. Fantasy fanatics indeed. Well, stop making claims, Pascal, if you don't need to prove anything. You start making fucking claims, it's the burden's on you, son. If you want to engage in beliefs and faith and all that, that's up to you. So say, don't come here expecting people like us to fucking accept it. Sean McClure, I'll have a wee presentation about some of that stuff at some point, because it's all related to that, you know, right to land, right to live, yada yada yada, and the processes that would be involved in achieving or attaining it. But I'll have a separate, you know, discussion about that. But nobody's requesting to join or anything, so another 5 minutes and I'm off ski pops. As I say, I just wanted to bring that back up, offer it to you, and if you've got anything practical or anything else to add to it, then by all means send me it or come on and let's have a chat about it. I've streamlined the suits, Bob Uncle. Aye. Streamlined them, made them more appealing. It'll not be long before you see clowns out there with fucking tracksuits that look like fucking NASA spacesuits cutting about. When with coronavirus will get away with wearing the helmet and every fucking thing. I'm surprised I've not seen anybody yet. So, before I go, ask the question, is motion the cause of gravity? Have a wee look at what Newton said about, you know, objects acting upon each other through a vacuum. Look at Einstein's equivalence principle, part of the general relativity or whatever the fuck. Check it out and see it for yourself. Play with reality, do the test yourself, do what I done. Get the balloons, get the water, get whatever you need, and you'll see it for your own self. You can experience it, that you can demonstrate these things and what we experience in reality as a possibility. So, anyhow, it's been a short one, but hey ho, Billy knee mates, know that, I'm away to greet myself to sleep or something. Feel sorry for myself, nobody likes me. There's loads of people out there that will love it. They hate me. They fucking hate me. They're invested in their hatred. So they'd love to see that I've not got any mates, nobody wants to talk to me. But little do they know that I don't really give a fuck. No sweat off my nose, big massive fucking thing that it is. Hundreds of sweat on there, but I couldn't give a fuck about any of it. Keep asking the questions.